Welcome to Oye Cinema Club. Right here, I am your lovely host, Steve. And today, I'm not by myself. We're going to be reviewing this movie called Sasquatch Sunset. I'm here with the lovely host, Dundina Spitzini, Marina Watch Laugh Cry, Jason underscore Echoes,
Hey, now.
and JP Saruno. He didn't want to say anything. So today, we're going to be talking about Sasquatch Sunset. And the reason I picked this movie was because I heard of this movie in a podcast, a stupid podcast that I listen to every week. Uh, One of the hosts recommended you got to go watch that movie. Never heard of it in my life, never watched the trailer, never nothing. So I put that in the back of my mind. And then JP picked the 100 Beavers movie. And I was like, this gotta be in line with this. And because it was my turn, I was like, this is the perfect moment to put this one film that supposedly I have to watch. And now I get the chance to discuss it with all these incredible people to try to make sense of this. So let's start with first impressions. And I really want to know what JP thinks of this movie. So JP, what are your first impressions?
Oh man, this movie needed more beavers. There was no beavers in this movie, and quite frankly, I would have given this film 5 stars if there was a beaver. I mean, we saw Sasquatch crotches and some Satch snatches, but we didn't see no beavers. Anyhow, what I can say, one of the most original films I've ever seen. That's a statement that I'm making. Also, after the Golden Globe nominations were said and announced, I happened to see the Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin movie, um, Zone of Interest, but a comedy. And honestly, I feel like the Sasquatch movie, Jesse Eisenberg should have been nominated for his performance in that. Because at least he's performing in this film. Jesse Eisenberg just plays Jesse Eisenberg in that other movie. You know, the one that he wrote. Um, but yeah, that's my first impression. Quite an original picture. I would show this film to perhaps the best of friends and the worst of enemies. Just, just show this movie to anyone you know. No context. Yeah.
Thank you for that, JP. Now, I would like to know Dino's first impressions. So, Dino, go ahead.
I am so disturbed. I was having dinner. I was a little late, and they're like, "Oh, what movie are you guys reviewing?" And I said, "I can't remember," because Jason and I watched this movie last week. I was like, "I can't remember. I just know I didn't like it, and I can't remember at all what we watched." I thought it was a waste of time. It was like 48 minutes. I mean, it could have been 10 minutes. I did not like it because I was thinking I should just go and watch Quest for Fire, which I'm saying if you are watching this right now, I was talking about it, just subscribe, and then get out of here and go watch Quest for Fire with Ron Perlman and yeah, it's so good. It's cavemen. They aren't talking words, but they actually had an anthropologist come up with like caveman language and what they might be the sounds and noises and stuff of how to communicate. Brilliant movie. Go watch that 3 times before you come back. Watch this. Go get the DVD and put the audio commentary of Ron Perlman and the other actress talk about it. So much better than wasting your time with a Sasquatch Country, or what is that the name of the movie that we watched? I don't know. I was
You made it.
Summer, fall, winter. Like this movie felt like they had to put that because they had no other way of showing what was happening with the seasons, that they had to put a script because there was also no story to tell. This is like, not gonna lie, guys, this is up there with, like, I actually think Havoc might be better than this because at least Havoc, they swung for the fences with Havoc and whatever they were trying to do and just kind of completely missed. This is just a whole bunch of staring. I'm this movie has, in hundreds of years from now, when our future generations have to live underground due to the apocalypse that has occurred, everything's going to come back and pinpoint to this movie. And not what happened in the government or the drones or anything else, but Sasquatch country. It's like, if only this wasn't a thing, we wouldn't have to live underground.
It's the end all, the all.
I appreciate that hating rant, Dino. Let's go with Jason.
I liked it. I did. I liked it. Like I watched it with Dino, and all his reactions. Like I was gathering he didn't like it, but I didn't want to say anything because I'm like, I'm going to take the complete opposite a view on this thing. I could already tell just by like his dissatisfaction. But the whole time I was watching it, I got a lot out of it. I thought the acting in it was really good. They were doing a lot of acting with their eyes. The thing that I really liked is that the characters, the Sasquatches, they had a way of communicating certain things. And if you were paying attention, they did certain gestures multiple times to like express a certain like feeling or desire or something. And so I was like, oh, they've developed a way of communicating, but the actors were doing such a good job of like making that clear, I thought. So, or like they know the story they're trying to tell each other. And then because they're so sure of it, without using any language, I know exactly what they're trying to communicate. I thought that was really brilliant and probably not that easy to pull off. So I was kind of fascinated by that. Also, there's a lot of mystery to this movie, which I like. Because I'm like, well, what are they? Are they like Neanderthals? Are they Sasquatches? Are they sort of like pre-people? Are they like, what are they? And because of the way they're communicating with one another, and you're trying to think they're like some early, primate, but really I think they're just Sasquatches, which is like a Yeti or something. They're just like Yetis. They're just a thing that's about to be extinct.
What gave it away, Jason? That they were Sasquatch.
Well, I don't know. Like, I think what was covering it up was, for me at least, what was covering it up was how human they felt. Do you know what I mean? Like, they felt very like I felt for them. Like, it wasn't like watching like Animal Planet, where like a shark eats a whale or something. Like when their characters like died, I was like, I kind of felt like, wow, man, like they got to keep moving on, but this is how they're dealing with it. This is how they're dealing with their structure and their grief and their small little last people. They might as well be the last people on Earth. Like for them, I liked all of that. It felt like last people on Earth kind of vibes, and the Panther being a villain, and like I mean, I was like, there's so much. I was like, I love this actually. What I really like about it is that I never heard of this movie before, so I would have never seen this otherwise. This probably would have escaped me. So this was actually kind of a cool one to go into. And if someone would explain this to me, maybe I still don't watch it. But having to be forced to watch it, once I got into it, I was like, this thing honestly kind of felt sort of rewarding, to be honest with you.
I was so annoyed.
Dino, you already had your turn. So let's go with the first impressions of me, Steve. All right. Thank you so much. No, I'm kidding. Marina.
Oh, such a hard act to follow. I would have much rather gone behind Dino and then
Damn.
and then sounded like so innocent and positive, but now I'm just gonna sound negative. Um, yeah. So, worst movie. Like, I feel like for a while, like, is things that we've reviewed as a group, Swiss Army Man has been number one, which really surprises me that Dina wasn't into this concept. Because like those movies could be like brothers and sister. Like my husband walked by, he's like, "Oh, who picked this? The person who picked that movie about the guy in the forest that was dead?" I was like, "No, surprisingly, it was somebody else." But this bumped it out of the league as the official number one. What the fudge did these guys get me into? Which is a podcast I will be starting. um, I couldn't like I really try to brainstorm on like let me find some positives. I'm collabing with creators. We're talking about masterpieces. We're talking about arts. We're talking about like things that we're given a budget to like create a vision. And I could not find one thing. It took me 30 minutes to realize that this was like actual actors inside of these people. I was like, who? I said, not the guy from Facebook movie. Like, what is he doing in this? Like, who, what? Like, what is going on? It was interesting. Like, one thing I can take away, and that's the beauty of like discussing, is just like, I guess it maybe is the concept of like the end of an era for a being. So I guess that's kind of deep, but didn't really hold it enough for the entertainment. Like, it was just you guys know I can be prudish, so like the weird sexual stuff and like everybody wanted to have sex with the same female Sasquatch was just like all right. But yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I guess the only positives I can kind of take from Jason talking about it is like never heard of it, never would have, so now I can say I did. I've been there, but it really was very, very interesting. I was just waiting for more, and yeah, I haven't had the time, but I'm very curious of like why someone sat here and paid a crew and like, and just really went through with this, like I'm glad like cut the check, but like very, very interesting. Yeah, no offense, Steve, respectfully, as they say in the streets, respectfully.
For sure. I'm gonna give my first impression. So with mine, I actually side more like I'm glad that I got to see everybody's points of view in their first impression. And I side a little bit more with Jason in the sense of like this was a movie that was like there that like I pinpoint of like maybe one day I watch it. Then it's like this was like the perfect opportunity of like the world and the moon and the sun aligning with each other for me to pick this movie. And then just like Jason, if I wasn't kind of forced to watch this movie, I wouldn't have watched this movie. But I'm glad that I did because to me, I really got into the movie. I actually like started watching like the first 30 minutes last week and then I finished it today. And in essence, I was just like, for me, was just like really the beauty of discovering what is the direction of this film. Because like there were points of the film that I was like, just like Jason said, like, are these like early humans? And then I felt like, because it was just kind of like the direction it was sort of going, I was like, is this like final destination for Sasquatch? Because if it is, I'm very into it. I was like, I legit was thinking like the majority of the movie, like, okay, everybody's gonna die. Like at some point, it's just gonna be like boom, 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 and there's only one left, and that's what's gonna happen. But like, yeah, and then they put the aspects of like, oh, maybe they're gonna interact with a human, because then you start seeing certain things or whatever. And then my partner I was watching it with, like, was like, is this an environmentalist movie?
Oh yeah.
So, like for me, like the beauty of the movie itself was just the fact of like I didn't know where this was going. You know what I'm saying? And then the fact that it was like a comedy and it like within itself. Like for example, when they discover the road, I was I was laughing a lot. So like if you suspend your time, and for me, like if this movie would have been 2 hours, maybe I would have been like, okay, this is too much. But the fact that it was like short movie, it's still considered a feature film for the length and everything. To me, it was fine. Like it's just like if you're watching this movie like in a time where you're like trying to do other stuff, maybe this movie's annoying. But like if you free up your time and you free up your mind and like watch it a bit, I think you'll find entertaining things out of it. And of course, the names attached are one of the draws of this film. Because like if Jesse Eisenberg wasn't in this movie and stuff, like I wouldn't have watched it either. Because once I heard about it, I was like, oh, Jesse Eisenberg's in it. Why? Okay, let's check it out. So that's my first impression. Um, let's talk about. I know something that Dino really wants to get into, and that is your favorite scene because there's so many amazingly wild scenes. And I know Dino has been like burning with desire to say his favorite. So Dino, go ahead.
You know,
All right, so let's go.
I will say the cinematography was really good. So I don't want to come off too negative, but cinematography and music, since no one actually put that in first impressions yet, cinematography and the music, the score I thought was very, very good. Um, I don't know. I mean, probably the one where they're looking like this. That's a pretty good scene. That's another.
You know
pretty
what?
good
I have
scene.
never aligned on our reviews. This is great. This is a Christmas miracle, you know?
I mean, go ahead then, Marina. Tell us your favorite scene.
Oh, when they found like the statue of the Sasquatch and the credits rolled. That's my favorite motherfucking scene. Like what's that? All right, don't stay here too long. All right, let's just pivot to Jason. Let's get some positivity in
Oh
here.
god.
Let's go,
Hey,
Jason.
I think okay.
No, go ahead, JP.
Nah, go Jason.
So I think I got a couple of favorite scenes actually. um, one of them's kind of dark, but it was pretty emotional. So I got to like, and it was kind of stressful. So I think maybe the intention of like the director was pretty keen. By the time they get to the Jesse Eisenberg character dying, we've been with the character long enough where it is kind of sad that he dies, and then the fact that like the character who I think is his mother tries to save him, but she has to watch her son, her first born son, drown in front of her. There's nothing she can do. She's pregnant, and then the little one, he's like too little to even understand what's happening, for whatever reason. And so she's on her own trying to save her son. And it's like, wow, man, this is super stressful. And as the viewer, he's not getting out of it. You know it. And so we got to like watch this guy die too. And you just see like the look in their eyes, like this is the last time I'll ever see you. And it's like, that's crazy. But, like I felt all that from like the acting in that scene. So I thought that was pretty sad. I thought that was a pretty well executed scene because it made me feel a lot of things. Yeah, I guess that would probably be my favorite scene. I think, even though that's like a darker one, but yeah.
That's a good scene though.
Go ahead, JP.
So my favorite scene, unfortunately, is also my least favorite scene. So in the movie, this is right after the death of the first character, and so like they're exploring around, and then they find a new element that just kind of takes the movie in a new, possibly a new narrative. They find a man-made road. So there was nothing in the movie prior to this moment that suggested that they actually live in our world. So now you see that, oh, this world of Sasquatch happens to be in the same world as ours. And it's played so genuine and so comedically, like grade A. Fucking, you nailed it with the rule of three of them just awing and being amazed by this road. And then it takes it to a 10, where I'm not gonna spoil it. I mean, we could spoil it, but that's where the film also shows like what was kind of reestablished from prior scenes, where anything in this movie, anything can happen in this movie, especially when it comes to like bodily functions, and it just, yeah. So my favorite scene also happened to be my least favorite scene.
I even forgot about that.
Poetry.
I forgot so much about this movie, and it's been...
I think that scene was pretty comedically executed. I liked it.
Yeah, they kind of did that too with the campgrounds, right? Like there were just like these brief, subtle moments where there was like human life, but you never saw them.
Kind of freaking them out a little bit, right?
You just
They-
reminded me, like I
They
got,
destroyed that campsite.
yeah, I like you just reminded me because like I was like, man, all these people taking some of my favorite scenes, especially that one, the road one. I really like that scene. To me, it was hilarious. But I really like the moment they discovered the music
Oh yeah.
and they just
So-
stay like.
That was super great, and it felt like very alt and indie. I had to look it up.
And
The
to me personally, that was my favorite score as well.
so that score is done by the woman playing the woman part, the woman character. Yeah, that's her band or
Mama.
whatever with that music.
Didn't I say that, Jason? Didn't I mention that? I also think I mentioned that they were gonna run into Swiss Army Man as well. Kind of like me and Marina are like on a whole nother level with this movie.
But you were you were entertained by that one. Goodness gracious, you guys have been taking me out all winter with freaking the Beaver. I will say, Beaver was better than I thought it would be. Swiss Army can like go in a vault with Sasquatch Sunset, and
Damn.
like, whoa, it's crazy to me. Like I have so many great ideas, and I'm sure you guys are the same, and they will never get that budget, and it just breaks my heart.
Is that the tagline for your podcast?
I think that's
That
the
or-
thing for me. Like it's like, whoa, this is like people sat at a table and were like, this one.
We are in agreement.
So my podcast is "This will never get the budget." You'll be my first guest, JP.
I'm just, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when things are suggested, and it just cracks me up when things are like critically acclaimed, and I'm just like, am I dumb or what is
Like, oh,
like am I? Like it's just like I don't know what these reviews were, but I feel like even like the Beaver movie had some good, reviews and stuff. And while I will say that had more depth than I thought it would from the preview, it's just so interesting to me. Like what I think people are craving original concepts, which I think JP mentioned. Like this is original. But it reminds me of TikTok when like people
But it's
post.
not original. Go watch Quest of Fire. Go watch all these other movies that did it before with less budget.
Uh,
yeah,
Maybe.
but Quest for Fire, they weren't Sasquatches.
Yeah, but go watch Harry and the Hendersons. I don't know. There you go.
When he said that it was original, it reminded me of when you watch a TikTok and someone like exposes like some trauma from their life, and someone will comment like, I fear this is an original thought." like you're just like, you just might have had an original experience. That's how I feel.
You know, you should film me try to figure out TikTok. That's your next Sasquatch movie right
You know,
there. That's
sunset.
I'd be like the Sasquatch at the cave at the campsite, trying to figure out TikTok. I downloaded it. I tried to figure it out. I was like, nope, too much.
Okay, I got a question for you guys before Steve moves us into his next question. If you have a question.
Final thoughts, right?
Better than your favorite character. All right, go ahead.
There are some things that I wondered about in this thing, like as far as like how they were surviving. Why do you think they were making that canopy every time they went to sleep at night? Were they like building a tent? What were they doing? And because after they did it, they would take it down afterwards.
Hmm.
You see, I think that's a mix-up of their scene and what they were filming because it didn't make any sense.
Maybe just showing like how they were organized. I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, never thought about that till right now.
I was
So
just thinking like maybe they're taking it down so animals can't live in there or can't
okay.
hide in there or something. That's just what I was thinking because they kept doing it. They would build
Were
this
they
tree
t-
the same way, and then
were
they would
they
take it
tying
down.
them?
They weren't tying them. They were just kind of like mounting the branches like teepee style along the tree, and then they would sleep
Right.
underneath that.
Well, the only thing I could think of, I don't know, maybe if we had talked about it or not, is they kept hitting the poles, which I think was them trying to get communication with other Sasquatch, and that
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were kind of the last ones. So I'm guessing as a way of survival or whatever is like cover your tracks. So
Mm.
in the morning or whatever, throw it off. You don't want to show, but that would be too smart to try and, purposely show that.
Well,
I'm
that dude
sorry,
did
guys.
get eaten by a panther.
Huh?
That the dad did get eaten by a panther.
Yeah, because he was on shrooms or something, and he thought that he could.
Is he a dad or is he a son? What are we talking about?
I thought they were a
Or
family. I thought it was a mom, a
no,
dad, two brothers.
Yeah, I
but
thought
they
that
all kept
too.
trying to have sex with the mom.
I just
Well,
feel
'cause
like
they're animals.
I feel like he was a teenager and he was like learning like what's all this that's going on, and she had to like correct him. That's what I thought was happening.
Okay, so like that other movie that weirded me out about the girl and the
Because they
babies.
did this thing whenever they would apologize, they would do this thing or whatever. And so after his mom was like, "No, like you don't do that. Like I'm your mom." And then he's like, "Oh, I'm like," he got real scared and he ran away and he was doing the apology symbol, like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry."
Also, apology
But
symbol.
the way he was doing it was kind of funny actually. Like, my bad. Okay.
No, like it just reminded me of like the first time I got the ick on this is when she's like putting her fingers down there and smelling it. I was like, what is happening? I am trying to eat the only meal I've had. Like, I think that's what pisses me off in movies when I trust it. When I'm like, this movie can't be that crazy. I can eat dinner. I can multitask.
I love dinner in a movie. I really do. But you're right. Sometimes a movie will throw you.
I don't know.
All right. So let's go into favorite characters, everybody. Let's start with Marina, since she knows.
Yes, I'll be very quick, very similar to my favorite scene. Really liked that Sasquatch figurine that did nothing but everything. And just when I thought they were gonna like find more of them and like continue to live on, and I just realized it was hopeless. So it was we followed these people through the forest, through the woods, through the campground, through the roads, through the city, and they're just gonna go instinct. And so it was just like beautiful because the movie was over, but also kind of sad because they'd been trying to survive and life just kept lifing. I never want to die under a log in front of my friends or family or that I'm trying to have sex with. Like I just never Yeah, it's a sad death, man. Getting eaten up by a mountain lion after you have like a berries trip, you
That
know?
sucks.
Just all sad, you know? You were high, then you were dead, you know? But that's why I don't do drugs. But
Yes,
just don't want to go out in the forest and
that's right.
try to have sex with logs and then get killed. But yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just I wish I had better answers. Like, I'm just not just me and these comedy riffs over here, but like I I don't know. I didn't really I couldn't connect. Like I tried. I rewound and I was like I just couldn't connect with either of the characters like that.
Thank you so much, Marina. Let's go with Jason.
You know, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I liked all the characters except for like the little boy. To be honest with you, like he was fine, but he wasn't really a standout. The other three actors, I thought. I mean, I guess he was doing well too. If I'm being honest, he was actually pretty funny too. But I don't like sometimes I would get lost and forget that these were actors. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I was like, oh wait, I'm watching Sasquatches or something. You know what I mean? Like I
Who
forgot
you
it was people in costumes.
who you telling?
You- So you too?
Well, like I said, I thought it was like not animated, but I don't know what I thought it was. And it's not
Like
just
almost
like,
puppets or something.
let me IMDb this. I'm like, what? The chick from Mad Max? The dude from Facebook? I'm like, who? COVID was rough on everybody, I guess. We just all had to go
So
work.
I'm sure their makeup had something to do with that. Like,
Yeah.
the makeup team did an incredible job and making these people feel like Sasquatches. So, all that looked pretty authentic and real, and I didn't really question any of it. Sometimes I would forget that I was watching people. With that said, there was something funny to me about the dad because it's always like it's that kind of like that standard thing, like dad is always the dumbest one in the family somehow. You know what I mean? It's like in everything. It's like everybody's smarter than dad. So dad gets a hold of these berries that are like probably, tripping them out or making them drunk or whatever, hallucinate or something. And he doesn't want to share them with the family because they're so good. It's like, it's his addiction real fast. It's his drugs or whatever. There's nobody else can have these. Or he was trying to protect them from it. I don't know. But it was interesting to see him go off and like never come back. Also, that's the guy who directed the movie. I looked that up too. The director was the dad. IMDb describes him as the alpha, that he's the alpha. So maybe those two other things weren't even his sons anyways. But I mean, maybe they were the other things. The other Sasquatches weren't his kids. They could have been though. I don't know. Who knows? It just doesn't say dad on IMDb credit. But I liked him a lot. I think he kind of set the tone pretty early for this thing. He was already dead before I found out Jesse Eisenberg was in this thing. It didn't occur to me that it was Jesse Eisenberg until like much later in the movie. But then I like finally realized, is that Jesse Eisenberg? But yeah. Anyways, yeah, I think I like the dad the most. He felt like a pretty tragic character, I guess. Like to go extinct, in that way, that's not awesome. After living your whole life and you're guiding these other people through life, making sure they all survive, and then you go out from like a drunken night and never come back. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was an interesting. I don't know, like I wasn't. Again, I didn't know what the movie was gonna be about. So when like when stuff started going down and like Sasquatches were dying, I was just like, oh wow, like I didn't see that coming. Like they just eating the berries and then just like turned into a whole thing. But yeah, very interesting.
Well, you know what's crazy? Dino's face. So, Dino, tell us about your favorite character.
uh, that giant log is my favorite character. It kept things rolling along. Um, and it kind of had me thinking of the beaver, hundreds of beavers, because at least, you know, beavers were cutting them trees down, going down the water. I was like, ooh, this might be fun. Um, and no. But yeah, I think I would agree with Jason that the alpha um was probably the more entertaining one, just because you saw the biggest kind of change in mannerisms and look and action and all that, and from eating the berries and the shrooms, and then seeing that mountain lion, and
What about the
being,
sex scene? You were laughing at that pretty loud.
oh, was I?
Yeah.
sex is sex is funny.
The sex scene
Uh,
was funny though.
yeah. Uh, or whatever it is. But no, the idea of like it just made of mainly alphas like at the club or whatever that drink too much and show up at a club is like, I'm gonna fuck shit up. First person that passes me, I'm gonna start some shit. And good old alpha saw this little mountain lion, and be like, "Oh, that mountain lion's way smaller than I am. I can mess him up real bad, or her." And nine, he got messed up. So
Real bad.
yeah. But yeah, but that Sasquatch, because again, maybe because it was the director writer of it, kind of knew the story uh, inside out of what he actually wanted to do, and this
What
is
about when they were
probably.
throwing the rocks? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no, no! Please go ahead. I was just gonna keep bullshitting something about him having gotten the budget he needed to play his dream out with Jesse Eisenberg. So. What about throwing the rocks?
Okay, so the scene where the mountain lion is eating the dad, and the family is like trying to throw rocks to get the mountain lion off the dad, like eating his guts, right?
Yeah.
All those rocks that kept hitting his head was hilarious.
Like already dead. Yeah,
It's like it was just like, God, another one. Like they just kept
and
smashing his face in with them big ass rocks. I'm like, this poor dad, he's out of here, bro.
insult to injury.
Right? Like if he had any chance of surviving, it's gone now.
Yeah, I remember you laughed at that pretty hard.
It's funny, man, because it's like it seemed like in that part of the movie, it was just like Homer Simpson. It was just big dumb dad. You know what I mean? Like all the shows always have big dumb dad. And then it just progressively got dark after that. I was like, oh, okay, this thing's taking a different twist than what I thought. It seemed like very much a comedy at first, and then it's like this is everything but funny.
You know what I thought was really funny? Seeing them have to pretend to eat weed and be like, and grass. And that was like all they were eating.
Yeah.
And I was like, they look so uncomfortable trying to pretend to eat weeds for the 400th take or
Yeah,
something. And that's what was entertaining me. Like, oh, here they're eating weeds again. And
I was
no
wondering what
wonder,
they were eating. I was like, I
no
hope that's
wonder
not
they're
real
just,
weeds.
yeah, so depressed at eating wildflowers, you know? I'm sorry. This movie,
I don't think I've ever seen Dino so disappointed in a movie in my life.
you know what I was going to point out when everyone's like, oh, Jesse Eisenberg. I didn't realize. Yeah, we all realized that because we all pulled our phones out, boring as hell, having to try and IMDb this movie to try and figure out some sort
It's
of
like, what
momentum.
dumb motherfudger would be up in this?
Oh my God.
And it's like, not Jesse. I know the industry's been slow, but my brother trying to make a Facebook too. Oh, you know.
You know that the raccoon was played by Johnny Depp.
That's funny.
I can see that.
He was also
Oh man.
in the last movie.
Been a rough year.
I'm gonna give you guys my favorite character. I was gonna put JP, but he's having some internet issues. My favorite character, which hasn't been mentioned at all in this whole review, and I can't even believe it hasn't been mentioned. The baby. That
Oh,
baby was everything to me.
The rapper.
Nah, not the rapper. The baby that was a Sasquatch baby that like almost died, and the
Yeah.
mom revived. Like he went cross-eyed.
Yeah.
That's probably the only time I connected to the movie was like her fear and her motherhood, just wanting to save the baby. Yeah, for sure. Not the rapper.
Same, but because I almost died as a baby at 9 months old, so I was like, oh, okay, I guess that can happen to Sasquatch too.
That's not funny. That's not funny.
I mean, it's not funny, but I did almost die. But yeah,
Oh,
What do you think the baby was dying from? Was it because of
plot.
the cold?
no.
I
It was,
thought she had rolled on the baby when she was sleeping and like suffocated or something.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep.
I think
Malnutrition.
it's like we'll die anyways when we're grown up, whether it's a log or berry trip. So let's just go now.
Yeah.
No, no, I don't know. Man, I don't really know.
well,
The life cycles were wild in this movie.
Yeah.
we have come to the time of final thoughts. Unless you guys want to say something, ask a question. I actually have a question.
All right.
And Marina's like, all right. What was the reason they were hitting the trees?
So repeat that question.
Like the
What,
X's.
what was the reason they were like hitting the trees?
Oh, I mentioned that earlier. My thought is it was them trying. It's hit and repeat. It's they were trying to hear if anybody else would repeat the sound, which is what I think
Mhm.
is it was like not a mating call, but it was a call, right? Like birds and all that.
Call and
And so
response.
that is what I assumed was their way of calling out to the other Sasquatch and seeing if they could hear anyone back, which they couldn't, which is why later at the very end when they see the billboard of the Sasquatch, I think it's like, oh, clearly humans have found all the other Sasquatch. Kind of like in yeah, it was a way of trying to communicate with their kind, is what I think. Because it was the same rhythm, and then they would do this thing.
They used
And
it when they were looking for their dad. Remember?
they also did that as well. But I think it was a way of communicating with the other Sasquatches, which luckily there weren't any, or else it would have been a longer movie.
So you think, yeah, it was pretty much about the extinction of them. That's what I felt like, right? Kind of reminds me of like Ice Age, where they have like those small cameos of the dodo birds within the first Ice Age, and it's like jokes, right? Because they kept doing dumb stuff and like falling off of the rocks and stuff, and it's basically like a joke on like this is why they're extinct, like they couldn't survive,
So
like.
you're saying this is not an original idea because it ripped off the dodo birds of
Well, the
Ice
dodo
Age?
birds in the Ice Age weren't trying to have sex with their mother, so they still got that like, trumped. But like, it's like, yeah, it just reminded me of like an extinction story. Like, it just they couldn't survive with the changes in the wilderness, and they had to go.
Well, with that being said, it's finally the time to go into another question. Now, final thoughts. Let's start with the person that's the most eager, not only about this movie, but about their final thoughts. That is Dino.
Again, the sad part of this is the makeup or costume or both, its synergy is outstanding. The setting, the cinematography is amazing. The music, the lack of sound at times is great. It's like this has all what you would think, like Marina's hubby being like, "Oh, did that Paraguayan pick this film as well?" Only he picks forest films. Well, sorry. Didn't I thought I would love this movie, but I guess not. Yeah, so it had like quality wise amazing. It just felt so with the depth of the camera work and everything, it just felt so flat to me. It fell flat. And that's a shame because I normally don't feel this way about films, even and usually films that I might not get or dislike a little after we normally talk. I'm like, oh, you know what? I actually kind of changed my mind. I feel a little better about this movie, or I actually did like something. Well, not for this one. So I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. I would recommend Quest for Fire. That's it.
Thank you for that, Dino. Let's go with Jason.
Okay. Well, final thought. Who would I recommend this to? I'm not sure I would recommend this to anyone, to be honest with you. I wouldn't even know how to recommend this to anyone. Uh, I mean, maybe if like people were talking about weird, sort of irreverent movies or something. I don't know, like movies that tried to do something different, like maybe. Silent films. I mean, this is technically a silent film, I think, right?
Yes.
There's no vocalizing, there's no words. I don't know, maybe for those reasons I could recommend it to someone who wanted to like, into something quirky like that. But uh, I don't think I don't think there's anybody like or any group I can specifically recommend this to. If you just want to see something weird and different and quirky and outside of the box and kind of feels a little indie house sort of style, just something different. I guess I could recommend that. Would I watch it again? I might watch this thing again. I might watch it again. Like, you know, I feel like maybe this will come back up at some point. I just have that feeling. Um, yeah, but I like the film. I'm real sorry that you guys didn't like it as much as I did. But yeah, I just didn't hate it. I thought it was pretty good actually. Like not my top 10 for the year or anything, but it did some things that I rarely ever see in film, and it did some things that like were very unexpected. Like I didn't really know where this story was going to go, and that I kind of found interesting too. It's like we watch a lot of movies, and most of the time you can sort of tell what direction it's going to go or how it's going to end. This I just didn't know where we were going or how they were going to end it, and I felt like anything was possible, which I rarely feel when I watch a movie. So that was interesting. But yeah, so that would be my final thought for this film.
Thank you for that, Jason. Let's go with Marina.
My final thoughts very similar to my beginning thoughts. What the fudge? No. um, yeah, I always appreciate things that I would never watch on my own, but yeah, just didn't really super relate to this one. You guys know how I am. Like I'm definitely more girly girl, and I do feel like it was like very whatever you want to call it, a male, an alpha. Like it was just very like aggressive with the species itself too. So it was just tough. I was trying to find an avenue to relate, and it just didn't really work with for me personally. If I could give one compliment, it's probably the same compliment I'd give for Swiss Army Man. Shout out to the location finder for finding a nice crisp forest scene. We still have got some nature in this world. But yeah, recommendation, an enemy. But no, I can't think of like I don't know. I can't think of any scenario where this will come up for me to recommend it, but yeah, still cool. Check it off my list of like things I wouldn't do on my own, so it's always cool to get recommendations.
Thank you for that, Marina. Let's go with Steve. Hey, so my final thought, I will say, first of all, I want to start with who I would recommend this to. I would recommend it to all of Marina and Dino's friends because they need to know that their friend's favorite movie is Sasquatch Sunset. They just gotta know.
Yeah.
It's like their top movies, not only of 2024, but of all time. And it's like if this was their criterion list, it would be like top 3. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna say this film, just like Jason, I actually enjoyed it. It gives me actual joy that now, especially with like films like this, you would just think like they would just, I don't know, would just go straight to streaming. But I was reading that supposedly they put this film in like a number between 250. It's either 250 or 350. It's one of those two numbers. I don't remember right now, but I was reading that they put that in 250 to 350 movie theaters. And it brings me at least joy that there are films outside of John Wick killing 80,000 people and the Avengers and horror movies, because those are the only things that get pushed a lot. So I'm happy that they're doing different things, because Hollywood has been so repetitive with a lot of their projects, and I'm just glad there's different things out there that might not be for everybody, but if you give it a chance with an open mind, I don't know, you might learn something. Whatever that is, I don't know. Dino right now is learning how to meditate. You can see him right there. We all learned something from this experience. Marina learned that, she only relates to baby stuff, because she's a mom. Dino, Dino learned that not only this is his favorite movie of all time, but that they actually should dub this movie in Spanish so he can bring it to Paraguay and spread the message of it. Jason learned that this movie like brings him a lot of joy, and seeing it with someone that hates the movie with a passion brought it even more joy to go the opposite route. JP said that when he was here, that Jesse Eisenberg should be nominated for the award from this particular movie instead of the other one that he just played himself.
This is just in. JP sues you for defaming his name.
He did say it. You can rewind this and see he actually said that. And I'm going to say that this film is the perfect film to end the year of Cinema Club. And we are so happy that you have been with us through all this time. If this is your first time watching, subscribe. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give a plug and keep it positive, because Dino's out there flustered. I see Dino turning red right now. Like a shirt.
Am I turning red? I've been red.
Yeah, since the beginning of this Cinema Club.
I had soup. I had soup and tequila.
Yeah. The ending, I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting maybe a tad more. It was a little too abrupt for me. But for Marina, it was perfect, apparently, because that's all she talked about. Anyways, that's my final thoughts.
I will say this before we go. This thing costs, it says, it's reported, what I can find on the internet, it's about $1 million to produce this thing. And I guess it did have a very limited release because it only made about $1 million back at the box office worldwide. A little over, just slightly over. Yeah.
Why are you being a hater, Marina?
Dino.
What did you say? You said Sloshburger?
I said shocker that it didn't.
Oh, shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think maybe it's being distributed by Showtime or something. Okay. But anyways, so I do have one question, and that's Steve. What do you got for us next week?
Next week, I'm so glad you asked. We're going to watch Sunset Sasquatch 2, The Revenge of the Baby.
This is what I want to put in my resignation for Cinema Club.
No, it is not my turn for Cinema Club, and it's not your turn, clearly, because you're asking me. It is Marina's turn, so we can get grounded again.
Ooh, no promises. I kind of stayed in the what the fudge era. Um, and I went with a movie that I recently saw and I want to watch again because I was like, what the fudge? But I want to say what the fudge with my guys and girls, whoever's on that week. And we're going to watch Challengers.
Okay, Challengers, first movie of the new year.
Yes. Very, very excited to discuss this with you guys. Just, yeah, I was like, what? So I want to say what with you guys. So let's do
All
it.
right. All right.
Not about the spaceship.
Yeah. And before the end of the year, don't stop believing. All right, cool.
All right. For Jason Echoes, El Dondino, Marina Watch Left Cry, Me Steve the TV, and JP that's not here, but he was here earlier. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, 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 bye.